Okay, guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. Okay, guys, I'm back, and it is Sunday, February the 2nd, and it is 10:48. It is Super Bowl day. Go Chiefs! Not that I'm into all that, but, I wanted the Chiefs to win just because it's the heartland. All right, let's get into what we're going to be doing. Is we're going to be looking at the Q posts. Well, I hope we are. Yes, we are. I had to shut this down because Word was not responding, so I had to start the recording over again. But I do want to, before I start, address something. And I'm sure that a lot of you have realized that I'm sick a lot, and it definitely seems like I'm sick a lot to me because I am. I've got a compromised immune system, but I've got good news because the last couple of weeks I've just been steadily going downhill. I've barely been able to get out of bed and do what I need to do in a day. I've been worried because I thought, I don't know if I can keep up with this unless something happens soon to, improve my health. So anyway, my doctor did find something on Friday when I went to the doctor. He found something. Unfortunately, I need a certain injection, but family doctor can't give that. So he is looking for a specialist that can give that injection to me, that's able to, I guess, legally. I don't know. But I don't see why he's not allowed to. I mean, I said, I promise my arm won't know if you're a specialist or not. But yeah, it has to be a specialist. And so pray that I'm able to get that in a timely manner because it's going to help with my energy exponentially and my stamina. So anyway, I would appreciate it if those of you that are believers would pray for me. I would appreciate that. And I hate to be a prayer hog, but I do definitely need it. So thank you guys so much. And, hang tough with me for a little bit until I get this, and I'll have more energy and be able to put more into this and do more, because I wish I had the energy to do 2 or 3 videos a night. But yeah, I definitely don't have the energy for that. All right, so let's get into the Q posts and get caught up to date with those. And if I have a little bit of time left over, I will go over a few news items as well. But let's look at this first item that Q posted yesterday. It's Representative Debbie McCarcel, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. So if I'm not, someone please correct me. McCarcel Powell linked to corruption in Ukraine. Well, surprise, surprise. Now, Q says read 1, and he's left a link, and then read 2, and he's left a link. Then, after these 2 links that we're about to go out and look at, he says 5-5. Is it loud and clear? Well, we're about to find out whether it's loud and clear. It says, welcome to the Democrat Party. Well done, Anons. Q. So let's go out and take a look at what he's wanting us to look at here. The first link is this one, and it says, I'm not afraid of you. Debbie McCarcel Powell embraces Trump impeachment role. Now, this is from December 4th, but Q is 2019, but just this past December. But obviously, Q is wanting us to read this, so let's read it. In the midst of a riff on trade policy during a campaign rally in Sunrise last week, President Donald Trump's name-checked Representative Debbie McCarcel Powell, a Miami Democrat who will have a say in this week's impeachment hearings as the probe shifts to the House Judiciary Committee. Yet, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats, they just have done nothing, Trump said to his supporters. They're doing nothing, folks. They're doing nothing. It's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing. So Congresswoman McCarcel Powell, where is she? Is she here? I'd love to see her. And Congresswoman Donna Shalala, McCarcel Powell responded via video by noting her work on impeachment, which for months was a political third rail for many Democrats in competitive districts like her Miami to Key West seat that has frequently changed party hands in the last decade. Hey, President Trump, it's Congresswoman Debbie McCarcel-Powell, and I'm right here, she said in the video posted to her Twitter account. You can find me next week in the Judiciary Committee, where I'll be working to protect our country and the American people from your attacks on our democracy, because unlike my Republican colleagues in Washington, I'm not afraid of you. Well, she's not afraid of him. Maybe she should be. So things have changed since McCarcel-Powell became one of the first lawmakers to call for an impeachment inquiry into Trump in June. At the time, she was concerned about the contents of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election and subsequent efforts by Trump to hinder the probe. Now, nearly every House Democrat is in favor of impeaching the president over his decision to withhold military aid from Ukraine, while subsequently urging the Ukrainian president to investigate Hunter Biden, the son of former Vice President Joe Biden, a potential opponent in the 2020 election. Not much of an opponent, if you ask me, but hey. On Wednesday, McCarcel-Powell will be part of a group of lawmakers questioning constitutional scholars as Democrats consider which of Trump's actions merit articles of impeachment. In the previous phase of the inquiry, which took place in the House Intelligence Committee, lawmakers from both parties used their lines of questioning and theatrics to raise their profiles. Democratic strategist Ben Pallara said McCarcel-Powell isn't likely to face negative consequences from voters for her impeachment work, and the potential for a viral moment could help her gain more visibility in Miami with voters and nationally with donors. I think the thing is, McCarcel-Powell is largely talking about other stuff, and to the extent she's forced to talk about this, I don't see a whole lot of downside for her, Pallara said. If anything, it'll help her solidify her base. I can't see a scenario where this has a negative impact on her in a general election. McCarcel-Powell's district is considered likely Democratic, according to the Cook Political Report, and she's banked more than $1.2 million to fund her 2020 re-election campaign. But national Republicans and one of her potential GOP opponents said the impeachment inquiry will hurt her politically. McCarcel-Powell is one of two Judiciary Committee Democrats from districts that are considered potentially competitive in 2020. The other being Georgia Representative Lucy McBath. Debbie McCarcel-Powell, her obsession with removing the President of the United States from office has stopped her from fulfilling the promise she made to the people of South Florida. National Republican Congressional Committee spokesman Camille Gallo said her unhealthy hatred of the president will cost her re-election next November. One of her big-name potential challengers, outgoing Miami-Dade Mayor Carlos Jimenez, I'm not sure, won't even talk about the impeachment. No comment, he said, after a Tuesday County Commission meeting in downtown Miami, told the impeachment question was related to an article about McCarcel-Powell. He responded, who? Jimenez, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. A Republican has been talking with potential donors for months about a congressional campaign, but hasn't met any of the previous timetables he laid out for a 2020 run. And on Tuesday, he wasn't offering new predictions on an announcement. I'll make it when I make it, he said. So Miami-Dade Fire Union Chief Omar Blanco, who announced his own GOP bid for McCarcel-Powell's seat in August, said he'll be watching her on TV this week. While the impeachment seems to be the Democrats' top priority, our country has serious issues that need to be addressed, such as infrastructure, immigration, healthcare, public safety, etc., Blanco wrote in a text message. A third Republican also seeking the seat, restaurateur Irina Villarino, said McCarcel-Powell shouldn't be part of the impeachment inquiry at all because her husband, get this, her husband has worked as an attorney during the last decade for companies tied to a Ukrainian oligarch, I can't pronounce that even though I know what it is, linked to the controversy surrounding Ukraine. So here she is. She's all gung-ho on impeaching the president. And if these people think that it's not going to affect their reelection, they're wrong, because a lot of people, be they Democrat or Republican, see this impeachment for exactly what it is, a sham. It's kangaroo court. So yeah, it is going to hurt her. But what about this? How can she, her husband is a lawyer who's worked with companies tied to a Ukrainian oligarch that's linked to the controversy surrounding Ukraine. So, hello, for the sake of transparency, Debbie McCarcel-Powell should recuse herself from impeachment matters, given that her household income comes from a Ukrainian oligarch who is under investigation with very close ties to the Ukrainian president. Villarino wrote Monday in a text message, "I hope she does the right thing." Well, if she doesn't, she won't be reelected. People see this. And all these people that are so obsessed with getting the president impeached and out of office, while they're doing that, what they're not doing is what they're being paid to do. And that is take care of their constituents. They're not. I mean, we can see how their districts look. Maybe not hers, but certainly, the California people have absolutely done nothing to help that situation. So anyway, according to McCarcel-Powell's financial disclosure, her husband has for 4 years represented companies owned, at least in part, by Kolomoisky, a billionaire who backed Vladimir Zelensky's successful upstart campaign for president in Ukraine. Kolomoisky's relationship with Zelensky inspired 2 Soviet-born South Florida men working with Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani to seek out a meeting with Kolomoisky in April, shortly after Zelensky won the election. Kolomoisky met with Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman, but told the New York Times last month that he believed they were meeting to discuss liquefied natural gas. Instead, he said they surprised him by asking for a meeting with Zelensky, so he told them to leave. So I don't know how long this is, but, well, we're almost done. Good. Kolomoisky accused Giuliani and Ukrainian media of attempting to orchestrate a clear conspiracy against Biden. McCarcel-Powell's campaign, called I'm having trouble with all these names. Villarino's charge false and a non-issue. As the Miami Herald previously reported, Robert has never worked for or represented Ihor Kolomoisky. McCarcel-Powell spokesman Mishel Gajewski said Republicans are desperately attempting to distract people from the threat to our democracy, which is simple. President Trump asked a foreign power to interfere with our elections for his personal political gain. No, he didn't. But they'll keep clinging to that same lie forever. Pallara noted that Congresswoman was previously attacked for her husband's work, and it did not resonate with voters during the 2018 election. It didn't work then. I don't think it's going to work now, Pallara said. She's been a good member of Congress. If that's all they got, Republicans are going to have a tough time with this seat. So, I don't know, but pretty interesting, if you ask me. And let's go back now, because we are going to, where are we? Here, and here. And we're going to go to the second article. All righty. Okay, Congress candidate's husband has financial ties to scandal-plagued Ukrainian oligarch. Yeah, seems like they all got their hands in the Ukrainian pie. The husband of a Miami Democrat hoping to unseat U.S. Representative Carlos Curbelo this November has financial ties to an Eastern European oligarch dogged by allegations of contract killings and embezzlement. Public records show that Debbie McCarcel Powell's husband, Robert Powell, spent much of the last 10 years as general counsel for companies owned, at least in part, by Igor Kolomoisky, a wealthy Ukrainian businessman involved in banking and mining. In federal financial disclosures, McCarcel Powell reported that her husband of 15 years earned most of their household income during the previous 2 years, at least $695,000, from a ferroalloys trading corporation associated with Kolomoisky. McCarcel Powell, considered by national Democrats as one of the most likely challengers to defeat a Republican incumbent in November's midterm elections, said her husband's work and the company that employed him are irrelevant to her campaign. No, I don't think so. Nice try, though, but no. Debbie McCarcel Powell is running for Congress, not her husband, doesn't matter. To imply that Debbie has anything to do with an indirect shareholder of a parent company that once employed her husband is an enormous stretch. Not so enormous, said Michael Hernandez, a senior communications advisor for the campaign. But the financial relationship, first reported Monday by the Daily Beast, could become a liability, particularly at a time of deep suspicion towards Eastern European influences. Joanna Rodriguez, a spokeswoman for Curbello's campaign, said South Florida voters deserve a representative with no allegiance to the kind of thuggish corruption described in this report. So I'm going to end it there because I think we've got the gist of what this is all about and the concern. So let's go back here and look at this. So I'm not afraid of you. Debbie McCarcel Powell embraces Trump impeachment role, and then Congress candidate's husband has financial ties to scandal-plagued Ukrainian oligarch, and yeah. So Q is saying, do you understand? Is it loud and clear? Oh yeah, it's loud and clear. And do you think she's going to win? I don't know. I think it's going to be hard for any Democrat to win, to tell you the truth. Really, I think people have seen through this whole sham. It's pretty evident to me. But anyway, Q says, welcome to the Democrat Party. Well done, Anon's Q. And I'm sure he's saying well done because they've dug up this information. So now, this is by Lisa Mae Crowley, and she says, Part 1, now we see why McCarcel Powell has Trump derangement syndrome. Her household income comes from a Ukrainian oligarch who is under investigation with very close ties to the Ukrainian president. Part 2, McCarcel Powell's husband, Robert Powell, has financial ties to an Eastern European oligarch dogged by allegations of contract killings and embezzlements. Impeachment sham designed to cover up Democrats and Republicans who took dirty money from corrupt Ukrainians. And there's a lot of them. And it's not all Democrats. It's Republicans as well. So we'll have to see what all happens there. And here we're on the next one, 3820. Adam Schiff's Ukraine connection comes under scrutiny. And of course, we've seen this meme before. Haven't you figured it out yet? It's not about Trump's corruption. It's about making sure you don't find out about their corruption. And that is the truth. So let's come down here and see what Q is wanting us to look at here. And he just included the meme and this link. Adam Schiff, Ukraine connection comes under scrutiny, and it should. House Intelligence Committee. I find that so odd when it says, that he's the House Intelligence Committee chairman. I mean, shouldn't you have some intelligence to have that job? I'm just asking. House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff, who has played a leading role in investigating the Trump-Ukraine scandal, is facing questions about his own connection to a Soviet-born businessman who has raised money for his campaign and whose company has received lucrative defense contracts from Ukraine's government. That man is Igor Pasternak, the founder and CEO of Worldwide Aeroscorp, which makes blimps for military and commercial customers. His business has also been involved in weapons manufacturing, working with the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense to produce a modified version of the M4 and M16 rifles, according to reports. In 2013, Pasternak hosted a fundraiser in Washington for Schiff, who later came to embrace a strong stance in support of the United States sending military aid to Ukraine during its conflict with Russia. Before this time, Schiff rarely, if ever, mentioned Ukraine, Fox News' Laura Ingraham said on her show Thursday night after detailing Schiff's connection to Pasternak. But after the fundraiser, he used multiple television appearances to basically demand that we send money and arms to them. Well, of course he would, because it benefited him. He doesn't care about anything that doesn't benefit him. Neither Schiff nor Pasternak returned requests from Fox News for comment on Thursday. Gee, I wonder why. Does this guy not look like he has too many teeth for his mouth? I'm just saying. I'm not making fun of him. I'm just saying he does. He looks like he's got way too many teeth jammed in there. But in February 2015 appearance on CNN, Schiff was asked by anchor Wolf Blitzer, "You want the United States right now to not only provide humanitarian aid to Ukraine, but also start providing serious weapons, right?" He replied, "I do, and I think it's overdue." In another appearance on CNN in February 2015, Schiff said, "I think that the United States should be very forward-leaning on Ukraine." According to his online biography, Pasternak was born in the former Soviet Union, started his first company in Ukraine, immigrated to the United States in 1993, and is now a U.S. citizen. Since that time, Pasternak's company has been awarded Ukraine defense contracts. An invitation for the July 18, 2013 fundraiser posted online invited guests to Pasternak's home on Capitol Hill. "Please join Igor Pasternak for a taste of Ukraine reception honoring Congressman Adam Schiff," the invite said. To attend the fundraiser, sponsors were encouraged to contribute $2,500 and guests were asked to pay $1,000. The invite said checks were payable to Adam Schiff for Congress. Wow. An online search, this isn't the first time we're hearing this. An online search of donor records shows that Pasternak had donated money to politicians and organizations of both parties. Pasternak's airship company, Worldwide Aeroscorp, is based in Montebello, California. The company has won Pentagon contracts to develop airships for surveillance and cargo delivering, including one contract reportedly worth $50 million. In 2017, Pasternak was quoted in Newsweek talking about his company's efforts to produce a variant of the M16 rifle in Ukraine. The M16 project was conceived some time ago as the Ukrainian Armed Forces, Border Guards, and National Guard will, with time, switch to NATO standards, Pasternak said during a press conference in Kiev at the time. The scrutiny comes as Democrats ramp up their impeachment inquiry into Trump. Democrats are moving ahead with those efforts after a whistleblower complained that the president, in a July phone call, pressed the president of Ukraine to investigate the business dealings of former Vice President Joe Biden's son, Hunter, in that country. Schiff has been singled out by Republicans, including Trump himself in recent days. Republicans have decried how Schiff, during a hearing last week, read a parody version of Trump's phone call with Ukraine President Vladimir Zelensky. Republicans also slammed Schiff after the Intelligence Committee acknowledged this week that the whistleblower alleging misconduct had reached out to Schiff's panel before filing a complaint. So, interesting how all of these guys seem to be wrapped up in Ukraine in some way. And they're all benefiting financially from it. So, yeah, boy, when everything comes out about Schiff, he's going to be one that's going to find it hard to walk down the street and not be attacked. All right, not that I'm advocating that. I just want him to see justice. But yeah, and Q is pointing out, Haven't you figured it out yet? Not about Trump's corruption. He hasn't done anything wrong. No, it's about making sure you don't find out about their corruption. That's what they're covering. It's their corruption. And they know that Trump has the goods on them. They know. They know that Trump knows. And they hate him because he's not going to participate with them and play along like past presidents have done. He's wanting to do what is right for the country, and we've never seen that before. I don't know. I don't know when the last president was that actually cared about the country. All right. Now, here is the next one, and it is post 3821. 3821. And Admiral Michael S. Rogers, U.S. Navy, was the 17th director of the NSA. And Q is asking us here, who was the 17th director of the NSA? Well, it's him. Now, this was behind a paywall, which I couldn't get to. So I've clipped it out here, and I'm hoping, I know it's going to be blurry for you guys, but hopefully I can read it. Pentagon and intelligence community chiefs have urged Obama to remove the head of the NSA, and that was Admiral Rogers. The head of the Pentagon and the nation's intelligence community have recommended to President Obama that the director of the National Security Agency, Admiral Michael S. Rogers, be removed. The recommendation, delivered to the White House last month, was made by Defense Secretary Ashton B. Carter and Director of National Intelligence James R. Clapper, Jr., according to several U.S. officials familiar with the matter. There's Clapper's name again. Action has been delayed, some administrative officials said, because relieving Rogers of his duty is tied to another controversial recommendation to create separate chains of command at the NSA and the Military Cyber Warfare Unit, a recommendation by Clapper and Carter that has been stalled because of other issues. The news comes as Rogers is being considered by President-elect Donald Trump to be his nominee for Director of National Intelligence to replace Clapper as the official who oversees all 17 U.S. intelligence agencies in a move apparently unprecedented for a military officer. Rogers, without notifying superiors, traveled to New York to meet with Trump on Thursday at Trump Tower. That caused consternation at senior levels of the administration, according to officials who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss internal personal matters. And we know about this because Q told us about this a long time ago, that Admiral Rogers met with Trump without the permission of anyone else. He met with Trump. He told Trump that he was being spied on, and Trump immediately moved out of the Trump Towers they were using Trump Towers, but they moved that operation. And it's interesting because Clapper wanted to dismiss Admiral Rogers, but Trump was considering Admiral Rogers to take Clapper's place. Interesting stuff here, but it's very, very interesting that he is the 17th director of the NSA. A lot of people have postulated that possibly he is Q, and it would not shock me at all to find that he was part of the Q group. I don't think it's just one individual, but I do very strongly think that he is involved in Q, or at least knows who they are, who that group is. So there you have it. But my money would be, if I was a betting woman, and I'm not, I would put money on the fact that I think he is probably involved in Q. So, all right. Now we're going to go on to the next one, 3822. 3822. Admiral Rogers and John Durham have met on multiple occasions. Well, isn't that interesting? Really? Because, John Durham, of course, he's like Mr. Clean. He's going to be, you ever see all those Mr. Clean commercials come back to me from my youth. I've been, they've been on forever, but, they have the magic eraser. Well, I think that John Durham is the magic eraser. He's going to clean up, I believe. But let's take a look at this now. Q has put this in from an anon, and it's Q proof. Proofs are important, Q. And so Q has put this here. I've made it bigger over here so we can see it. And then Q underneath says Durham and Rogers meetings. So, hang on here. So this is, let me see here. Hang on here. I'm going to try and make this one bigger so that we can read it. All right. Well, let's take a boo. So this is from July 9th, 2019, a former Q post, and it says, Attorney General and Rogers meeting, Durham and Rogers meetings. And we know, from listening to Q all this time, we know that his questions aren't questions. They're more of statements. And so back then he was telling us Durham and Rogers had meetings. That's what he was saying. Why did Rogers retire? Why did Rogers visit POTUS at Trump Tower without authorization shortly after a skiff was installed? Well, we know why. He told Trump exactly what was going on and that he was being spied on. Why did select former ABC directors, ABC meaning DOJ, FBI, whatever, CIA, call for the removal of Rogers? Probably because they knew he wasn't dirty, and they knew he wouldn't cover for them. Why did POTUS move his transition command center base of operations from Trump Tower the very next day? Because he knew he was being spied on, and I don't think he took too kindly to that. If you knew you were being spied on, wouldn't you leave? Of course. And over here, it says the former NSA director is cooperating with probe of Trump-Russia investigation. Retired Admiral Michael Rogers, a former director of National Security Agency, has been cooperating with the Justice Department's probe into the origins of the counterintelligence investigation of the Trump presidential campaign's alleged ties to Russia, according to 4 people familiar with Rogers' participation. Rogers has met the prosecutor leading the probe, Connecticut U.S. Attorney John Durham, on multiple occasions. According to 2 people familiar with Rogers' cooperation, while the stance of those meetings is not clear, Rogers has cooperated voluntarily, several people with knowledge of the matter said. So, Rogers was the one that alerted Trump to this whole thing about being spied on and the FISA warrants and all that stuff. And he has met with Durham, who is, he's going to be the guy that's prosecuting all this, or doing the indictments or whatever. So they have met several times. They've had meetings. So that is what Q is wanting us to know here. And he's pointing that out to us. And he's pointing out the fact that he told us this quite a while ago. Now, Q proof. Admiral Rogers met with Durham several times. Q told us this in July 2019. Article in December confirms it. We know what they were discussing. Hussein wiretapping Trump Hotel, where POTUS presidential transition campaign was located. We also know they're discussing all the evidence NSA has collected over the years regarding deep state treason and child trafficking. That by Diopresso Liber, SunQ2 on Twitter. Great person to follow. And we can go on from here to the next item. And now we have, the last time we had the flag, it was for Britain or the UK with Brexit, and now we see the American flag, in God we trust, USA freedom flag. Yes. And that is where that he left it. That's where Q left it. So that is it for the Q post. That brings us up to date, and I think we've got a little bit more time. I want to get this uploaded definitely before midnight, or else you'll think that I'm not posting tonight. But I am going to go over a couple more news items. I think you'll enjoy this one. Nolte, impeachment proves Nancy Pelosi is an idiot. I think we can all agree on that. I don't see how any of us would disagree with that at all. Impeachment proves Nancy Pelosi is an idiot. Yes, I tend to agree. not the brightest bulb on the marquee, if you know. She's like a dull tool. For more than a decade, the media have told us House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is some kind of master strategist. Yeah, okay. She's listening to General Gin and Tonic. Anyway, oh yes, President Trump has met his match, and Madame Pelosi. Me? Well, I've always found her to be something closer to an idiot, but even with my low opinion of her, never in my wildest dreams could I have imagined she would botch this impeachment as badly as she did. Seriously, wow. What I mean is, even with a particular strategy, even when a particular strategy is a bad one, it is at least a strategy. You can at least see the strategy as a bad strategy. For example, I understood why John McCain quit his 2008 presidential campaign to go off and try to save the economy. He was hoping to throw the game board over a game he was losing. It was a terrible strategy, laughable strategy, terrible, but you could at least see the strategy. I even understood why Senator Elizabeth Warren released a DNA test that definitely proved she was not an American Indian with the claim it proved she was. It was a terrible strategy, but I get what she was going for. It was neurotic and moronic, but it was at least a strategy. Pelosi's impeachment strategy baffles me beyond words because I see no strategy. In fact, when I close my eyes and attempt to picture Pelosi and Pelosi's impeachment strategy, I see Brian Stelter giggling as he tries to snatch a pork chop away from a ravenous Rosie O'Donnell. In other words, no strategy, just impulse and appetite that cannot end well. Forget your biases, your own beliefs, your likes and dislikes of those involved, and ask yourself what in the world Pelosi was thinking as I tick through these. 1. Impeaching the president with no crime. The questions surrounding Joe Biden's corruption in Ukraine are not only legitimate, Trump has a responsibility to look into it. Pelosi impeached him for something that was not only not a crime, it wasn't even unethical. 2. Impeaching the president for asking for a judicial ruling. Every defendant in the country has the right to go to court to challenge every aspect of the prosecution's case, from witnesses to search warrants to document requests and so on. This is the backbone of our legal system. Trump was perfectly within his rights, legally and with regard to historical impeachment precedent, to go to court for a judicial ruling on the issue of subpoenas and documents, and this dizzy broad impeached him for it. That's not a strategy. That's insanity. Number 3, there was no quid pro quo. Even if quid pro quo was a crime, and it's not, it has been firmly established by 18 witnesses and thousands of documents that Ukraine did not know Trump had paused the aid package. If the second party doesn't know about the carrot, there can be no bribery. If the second party doesn't know about the stick, there can be no extortion. Johnny Cochran might have put it this way: if Ukraine didn't know, there can be no quid pro quo. 4, rushing impeachment. This is the one that baffles me more than any other. In the House, Pelosi has total control over the process. She runs the House of Representatives and as Speaker, she has even more power than the Senate Majority Leader. Why rush things? Why the hurry to give up a process you have total control over? Let me back up just a bit. I don't think it was a good strategy, but I do understand why Pelosi violated Trump's due process rights and precedent. I get why she refused to allow the president to cross-examine witnesses or to bring on his own witnesses or face his accuser, the fake whistleblower. She rigged the process so that he had no chance of winning. I get that. It's the rushing that I can't wrap my mind around. It's the haste to give up a process she controls to hand it over to the Senate that she not only doesn't control, but that is controlled by a legitimate master strategist, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Not that anything would have turned out different as far as Trump's acquittal, but had Pelosi kept the process in the House under her control, she could have, 1, probably got most, if not all, the witnesses she wanted, 2, got most, if not all, the documents she wanted, 3, left Trump twisting in the wind for months, 4, bought more time for a legitimate bombshell to drop, and 5, handed a respectable impeachment over to the Senate with all the crossed T's and dotted I's. Impeaching Donald Trump before Christmas is not a strategy. It's a giggling Brian Stelter trying to take that pork chop from Rosie. A baby move, all impulse, no thought, dumb. 5, sitting on the impeachment articles for a month. Pelosi said her strategy in holding on to the impeachment article for a month was to force McConnell to agree to her terms on the Senate trial, but come on, that's not a strategy. That's a temper tantrum. Holding your breath while the other side enjoys watching you turn blue is not a strategy. Out of one side of this dizzy dame's mouth, we are told impeachment must be rushed in order to save the country. Then, in the same breath, she holds up impeachment a full month. You want to know how dumb Nancy Pelosi is? She thinks Twitter and CNN are the real world because that's where she got this irrational idea from. Holding up the impeachment articles wasn't a strategy. It was a way to get the elite bubble to cheer her on by giving the extremist animals what they want. Granted, there's an argument out there that Pelosi sat on everything, hoping against hope after 18 witnesses and thousands of documents, that some bombshell would come out and save an impeachment she already knew was doomed, an impeachment that had not even proved there was a quid pro quo, much less a crime. Okay, but if that was the case, why not wait for the Hail Mary while you're waiting for the court to rule on those additional witnesses and documents? Stupid. 6, demanding the Senate do what she refused to do. You want to know when I knew that there would be no witnesses and therefore no hope of dragging this out to embarrass the president and therefore absolutely no hope of conviction? Over 2 weeks ago, when Senator Lisa Murkowski publicly complained that the House was asking the Senate to do what the House refused to do, namely, fight Trump in court to gain access to certain witnesses and documents. Wait a minute, Murkowski was saying. You assholes want us to do all the work you not only refuse to do, but that the Constitution and over a century of precedent says you're supposed to do. Sorry, no. Had that come from a Senator Ted Cruz, I wouldn't give it a second thought. But this is Lisa Murkowski we're talking about, one of the top 3 cucks in the Senate. Seriously, Nancy, if you've lost Murkowski. 7, terrible choice of House managers. Oh, I could not agree more. As I tweeted yesterday, an unappreciated fact of the Senate trial was Trump's astute decision not to use House managers from the House instead of Republican representatives, instead of politicians as his defense counsel who would arrive with a ton of baggage and be seen as fire-breathing partisans. Trump brought on a real legal team, a team of brilliant lawyers like Patrick Philbin, Alan Dershowitz, Jay Sekulow, and Ken Starr. Pelosi chose... Sorry, my cat is up on the... Hey! Oh, that plant's dead. He chewed the life out of it, and I kind of picked it up and repotted it and hoped that it would survive, but no, it's chewed to a frazzle now. All right, well, there goes another plant. And there, he ran off with it. Okay. Pelosi chose Laurel and Hardy, Adam Schiff, and Jerry Nadler. The contrast was striking, smirking, hyper-partisan politicians up against mature, thoughtful, well-prepared lawyers. Trump knew his audience, and I'm not just talking about the few people who watch this farce at home. The Senate likes to see itself as above politics, as superior to the rowdy House. Had Trump brought over the stars of the House trial, Representative Mark Meadows, Jim Jordan, Elise Stefanik, that would have been nowhere near as effective as sober, qualified, respected attorneys. Nancy Pelosi is less than 2 months from turning 80, and she acts every day of it. Her advanced age means there's no time for a political comeback, for a rebound. Her legacy will be one not only of failure, but of raging incompetence. Her legacy will be disastrous Obamacare bill that has been rejected by the public, raised healthcare costs, and is slowly being dismantled by the courts. Worse still will be history's verdict on her epic mishandling of something as serious as impeachment. She has now entered the pantheon of committing one of the greatest unforced errors in all of American political history, right up there with Newt Gingrich and Chuck Schumer forcing the government to close, McCain quitting his presidential campaign, George McGovern not properly vetting Thomas Eagleton, the Alien and Sedition Acts, Prohibition, and the Bay of Pigs. For the last for the last 5 months, Nancy Pelosi has not only made every god-awful choice and decision possible, but even with billions and billions of corporate dollars and media propaganda at her side, she has been out-strategized and outmaneuvered at every turn by the reactionary extremists in her own caucus who pushed this debacle, but mostly by McConnell and the president. Madam Speaker, the master strategist has stepped on every rake, bungled every opportunity, been her own worst enemy, and is been a glorious spectacle to behold, especially watching Trump's job approval and re-election numbers rise above pre-impeachment levels. Nancy Pelosi is an idiot. And I think there is not one of us that would disagree with that assessment at all. All right, let's go back. And that is not the right one. We're here. Now, let me see. Yeah, I'm going to skip some of this coronavirus stuff just because I'd rather put that stuff all together in an update video. But let's look at this. Democrats equals 17 witnesses. Republicans equals 0 witnesses. Yeah, interesting. Truth. Trump is the cleanest person in D.C. They opened an FBI investigation to find a crime. They appointed a special counsel to find a crime. They used fake whistleblower to open an investigation to find a crime and found nothing. No one in DC survives this but Trump. I would tend to agree with that. I really, really would. Now, I'm going to save these coronavirus updates. Oh, what is he up to now? Oh, my. That cat, Xander is going to be, I don't know. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't even speak that out loud. I was going to say he's going to be the death of me, but no, he's not. All right. So I'm gonna leave that there for today. And I do have some people to thank. So let me go ahead and do that. And these are from the last couple of days. We've got Delana R, and she donated through PayPal. Thank you very much. And through coffee, we've got Gail R, Granny, Precious Freedom, Maya S, Grace Lady, Anon, and Amish Metalhead. Now, there's a name. Now, that name takes the cake. Amish Metalhead. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. It makes this possible, as you are aware. And we also picked up a new Patreon supporter, Sheila Glidden. Thank you so much, Sheila. And that is it for tonight. I will be back tomorrow. Hopefully, if I end up getting that injection tomorrow, I know it's I'll be like raring to go. So just pray for me and pray that they can arrange that, because it is getting very, very difficult. My energy is extremely low, and so this will make a big difference in my life. All right. So thank you guys so much. You guys take care. I didn't realize until I sat down here how terrible I look in orange. But see, it's not all orange. It's orange on top, and then it's blue, and then I've got blue here and these sleeves. And I'm just like, you know, I'm a fashion don't. I'm just a fashion don't tonight. But that's all right. I can live with it. So you guys have a great night. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay well, and keep seeking truth. And if you're out any place that's questionable, wear a mask. If you're traveling, plane, better safe than sorry. I know, I convinced my friend who was going to Hawaii to wear a mask, and she said, but I'll look like an idiot. And I said, but you'll be alive. I'd rather look like an idiot and be alive. But anyway, so thank you guys so much, and I will see you tomorrow. All right. Good night.